Well, there's been a lot of discussion, debate, and processes before Uganda sees the first drop of oil emerging out of the earth. Now, this weekend's developments in Entebbe are proof that we're moving a little closer, although there are still quite a number of hurdles that have to be jumped before the country can actually tick that box. We'll be discussing that and more stories in our subsequent segments. It's Man and Markets. I'm Charles Borg, your host. Welcome to the show. Well, there's no doubt that Uganda is an agro-based economy. For a lot that feeds into this economy comes from agriculture. Now, one of the crops that the country used to farm quite aggressively in the past is cocoa. But years have actually seen this crop being relegated to the periphery. Today, we have business people that are looking at this crop as one that can turn around this economy's fortunes. It is the focus of this segment.
Cocoa is, I would call it even at a certain point, a lazy man's crop when you go past the first 5 years. But then it's a product, the final product from cocoa is chocolate. And chocolate is so widely consumed, by people of all ages. And it's only starting now. If the Europeans have been the ones who have been the main consumers of chocolate, and the Americans. But now we are seeing a huge expansion in the consumption of chocolate in Asia, in African countries themselves, because we have now the youth and the middle class, and that middle class have traveled a lot, and therefore they want to have the same, the same comforts and enjoy nice things. And so when you look at cocoa, then compared to other primary commodities, we see that the demand is growing, and it's going to continue growing a lot. First of all, it's consumed in the West, grown in Africa, most of it. But when I see the market for cocoa, it's an enormous market. And I think that here we have to start really focusing a lot more attention on the production of cocoa. The first 5-7 years is a little bit difficult in the sense that cocoa, like any other tree crop, it takes time to, from the time of preparing the seedlings correctly, transplanting them, managing the plantation, or managing the farms, until it starts yielding the first fruits. The very first fruits, if it's well done, starts yielding in 2 years, 3 years, but then the crop becomes full from 5 years onwards. So there's market, and I really would like everybody to embrace a lot more the production of cocoa, because after those few years, then it continues to bear fruit for at least another 40 years, more or less, if the tree is maintained properly. And the beauty of it is that, once cocoa is from 7 years old, it forms a canopy, and therefore the maintenance even of the trees underneath is not that complicated anymore, because the weeds really reduce, and it needs to be pruned, and of course, if there are any pests and diseases, those have to be managed like in any other agriculture product. So what I'm doing now, I'm actually encouraging a lot the institutions like the Food and Agriculture Organization that recently accepted to come and partner with us so that we can reach out to a lot more farmers. My plan is to try and get up to 12,000 farmers in the area where we're operating in. And I intend to mobilize up to about 12,000 farmers to produce cocoa within the next 3 years. But that means, in order for me to succeed, I would need a lot of institutional support. We should not be afraid of the time that it takes to grow the cocoa crop. It's a long-term product, but it really will turn the face of everything for a lot of farmers. Yeah. My business works across the value chain. And I started this cocoa project with the aim of putting up a chocolate processing industry here at home directly. If you recently, I know even that for example, the president of Ghana, and Ghana is one of the biggest producers of cocoa in the world, and even now the president of Ghana says, no, that's enough taking our raw materials to Europe, to Switzerland, or to Belgium for processing because we are not getting value for it. And now we want to process our chocolate at home. So I want to do exactly that here. When I started from zero, my aim was, in the long term to be able to process our chocolate here. But of course, it is phase by phase. Now we focused on getting the crop first, and then once we have the volumes, I would then want to start looking for the financing to invest in a chocolate processing facility.
This weekend, Uganda played host to the Tanzanian president, and a discussion was on the oil and gas sector. Of course, agreements were signed. We're trying to unpack today the implication of these agreements and what they mean for the oil and gas sector and the wider economy. As Uganda and Tanzania race to sign the requisite agreement to support the development of Uganda's oil and gas sector, there is consensus among regional leaders for increased investment in the region's infrastructure to free its huge natural endowments for development.
Our region is well endowed with abundant natural resources, which include oil, gas, minerals, diverse number of wildlife and plants, as well as livestock and marine ecosystems. In order to fully and effectively exploit and utilize these resources, we need quality infrastructure. Without it, economic development would just be a myth.
This weekend, Uganda and Tanzania signed the agreement for the East African oil pipeline from Hoima to Tanga port in Tanzania. The agreement is supposed to support the implementation of the over 37 trillion shillings infrastructure project, which stands out as the region's biggest.
This pipeline project can be a core of bigger developments if the brothers in Congo and South Sudan choose to also use it for their oil. At the maximum, it can carry 230,000 barrels per day. Besides, the same corridor can take a return gas pipeline supplying Tanzanian and Mozambican gas to Uganda and the Great Lakes region.
The pipeline project is, according to the Ugandan president, a compromise between the country's aspiration of oil self-sufficiency and the interests of oil companies who are keen on exporting crude.
At the price of $50 per barrel, equivalent to about $63 barrel for refined products, this locally refined petroleum would knock off $1.22 billion from Uganda's import expenditure for petrol, diesel, aviation fuel, and tar for the roads. If you include the petroleum byproducts, such as plastics, the saving on the import bill will add another $400 million. So that would make it almost $1.7 billion saving on imports.
To Tanzania, beyond the direct revenue expected from the pipeline project, there's a lot to gain in terms of employment opportunities currently placed at 10,000, in addition to the ripple effect that will be created. There are, however, some outstanding issues.
I'm quite conversant that prior to the implementation of this project, there are still pending issues that need to be addressed. And in this regard, I urge all parties to work together to address the remaining issues to ensure the expeditious start of this project.
Uganda discovered oil in 2006 and has since confirmed 6.5 billion barrels of oil in the 20% area so far surveyed. As it is, the country is looking at key partnerships with other states and oil majors, in this case Total and Sinnoc, as a build-up to the final investment decision and thus extracting its oil out of the ground. Well, on that note, we'll take a very short commercial break. Don't go away. Man and Markets continues after this break.